Welcome to Canary Cry News Talk. What's up, everybody? We're about to get the show started. I just took all my vitamins, so I'm powerful. I'm powerful and strong. And hopefully I don't barf live on the air. That's it. That's the end of the public service announcement. We are getting the show started, and I'm very excited to be in the position to thank some T-shirt Council joiners. So I'll be doing that during the show. We really appreciate you guys supporting that program, supporting the show. We're excited to start sending you T-shirts once per quarter. It's really fun. We should have done this so long ago, especially since T-shirts has been like the number one thing everybody has asked for. But it took us long enough. We're here now, and we hope that everybody who said they wanted T-shirts goes ahead and signs up. So you can do that by heading over the link. Canary Cry T-shirt Council should officially work. CanaryCryT-shirtCouncil.com. Go check it out. If that doesn't work, you can go to canarycrynewstalk.com/t-shirt. All sorts of ways of getting there. Maybe, Guns, will you pop that link in there for the T-shirt Council? We appreciate it, and sorry for pushing it so hard here, but it's the beginning of the year, and things like this help us sort of work out the math on what we're able to accomplish for the year. It's kind of helping us plan. We're not normally planners, believe it or not, folks. We don't seem like the type who are making long-term plans, but we're getting old. We're older, we're wiser, and we're just trying to, be wise and use the resources wisely, and signing up for this kind of stuff early in the year really helps us kind of plan for the future. So we appreciate that. You can head on over to CanaryCryT-shirtCouncil.com. All right, and I think other than that, we should just get the show started.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is February 8th, 2023. We are live to tape on episode 588. And today, Autocrat Messiah. Signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And my name is Gonz, formerly of the Face Like This on YouTube channel, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, live to tape from California, here to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomenon, autocracies, autocrats. It'll all make sense in the end, Basil.
It just seems to be a theme nowadays, doesn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to be here. I wanted to take this first few seconds of the show and just let everybody know that I have found a single garden hose splitter in my garage. And so the repairing, we will rebuild. We will get water to
build back
to the
better.
bunnies. Build back better. That's right. I only need about 8 more of them. Okay. With that, Gonz, we're going to be making this show pretty snappy So just to prove to ourselves and the Lord that it's possible. So we're going to get the show started. Once you hit that disclaimer video, and then I'll give you a rundown.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys.
Yeah, we're not even live on YouTube.
Yeah, who even cares about that anymore?
Yeah.
I like the song, though.
Yeah.
All right, time for a rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
Starting off, the days of Noah, the Church of England, fiddling with some theology on the gender of God. Of course, it's about time. It's 2023. Then one of our most beloved Flippies has made an escape. We'll be checking in with that little dude in the Flippy update. Well, touching on the State of the Union address by you-know-who, and some beast fashion. Who you know who.
Okay.
Some interesting, not revelations, but reporting in the mainstream. It's finally happening. The veil is falling. Some reporting on the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines finally making it to the mainstream media. And then Block 2, instead of a COVID segment, we've got a very interesting collection of reports that will click in nicely to a few of our theories regarding pharmakia, fungus, and zombie movies. It's a good time. And at the end of the show, checking in with Antarctica and how Disney is using the Great White Desert to program our children. But first, Gons, our lead stories.
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
This is an article published in the Telegraph.co.uk, and the headline here is Gender-Neutral God to be Considered by Church of England. Move has been criticized by conservatives, and we'll get into a little bit of it.
No way.
Yeah. You think?
You don't say.
For decades, the gender of God has prompted debate within the church, with many calling for male pronouns he and him, as well as reference to our Father, to be scrapped in favor of either gender-neutral or female alternatives. Now, in what would mark a departure from centuries of tradition, bishops are to launch a project on gendered language, referencing God in church services later this year. The move has been criticized by conservatives, oh, no way, who have warned that male and female imagery is not interchangeable. However, liberal Christians have welcomed it, claiming that, quote, a theological misreading of God as exclusively male is a driver of much continuing discrimination and sexism amongst or against women. End
Misreading,
quote.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Details.
what is the misreading? The God is referred to as Father and He all throughout the Bible.
Hush, you gender discriminatory man.
I'm not even arguing. In fact, go for it, Church of England. I would love to see how this turns out.
Details of the plans emerged in a written question to the Liturgical Commission, which prepares and promotes forms of service and religious worship in the church at General Synod, the church's lawmaking body, which is sitting this week. So it's really not that big of a deal. I don't know why they're bringing it up. Well, actually, I do. It says at the very, very end of the article that there's a vote coming for the Church of England, a historic vote on blessings for same-sex couples later this week. So that's probably why they're bringing this up in the mainstream news here.
That's weird. What do you mean same-sex? I thought that gender doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Church.
well, yeah.
This is interesting, and, it's the lead story, so we're not going to take 45 minutes to walk through the whole thing. First of all, it seems like a little late to the game for that, where like all the hysteria over stuff like this seems to be so passé. That's so 2021. So I guess, in traditional fashion, the Church of England is a little bit behind the times still, if you can believe it. I don't know much about the Church of England, but it's one of these complicated things for me, Guns. And you and I, we may have similar or differing feelings about this, but it feels to me, now, of course, the original languages, the Bible is very clear that God is referenced as a masculine figure, using masculine pronouns, masculine everything. I mean, there's a couple
examples, right, where it's sort of a female or wisdom. Wisdom is the reference kind of thing.
And yes, and this the Holy Spirit is referred to a couple different ways. But the point being, there's no misreading here.
Right, there's no misreading.
I mean, what they're doing is they are trying to make the church more popular, more palatable for a
more accepting,
more modern crowd. And the Church of England's an interesting one because it's sort of the number one example of sort of politicized religion.
Yeah.
State religion. And so, of course, much like the Queen's job is to not have an opinion. That's sort of the whole point. If anybody's watched The Crown, you've had some insight into the Queen's job, and it is not to have an opinion or tell people what to do. It is simply to reflect the will of the people. And I can see perhaps how the Church of England is having that same attitude, in that, we're not really a church in the way Americans would think about it. We're supposed to be sort of a reflection of the mind or the spirit of the people.
Yeah. Well,
And of course, yes, God is referred to with masculine pronouns. There's no misreading. However, there's obviously a conversation to be had about a literal gender for God, the Father, and or the different ways that there are times when God is sort of described with feminine characteristics, because, of course, God is God, and he's much bigger than nice labels we'd like to put on him. But there you go. Good job, Church of England.
Well, yes, and to all those points, there is the occult side to this, or sort of the mystical religious side to this, which is that the androgynous God, like Yahweh is an androgynous figure, Adam as creation, first created man, but also, he must have both parts because, hey, he created woman out of man, so there are things in the Midrash. There's some philosophers, writers like Philo and stuff like that in history, and the Zohar as well, I think, references it as or as a potential translation. Some rabbis in history have alluded to Yahweh as being androgynous or above the genders, or that kind of thing. So
there's two different things. You're talking about Baphomet being a good example of containing both masculine and feminine features, as a deity has both of the identifying anatomy, being sort of in the occult. But there's a difference between containing both genders and then being above
both genders,
being above
or
gender,
transcend both genders,
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I understand that. Yeah, and certainly, again, it goes into the occult conversation there, because that's maybe the difference between Yahweh as sort of a non-gendered figure, at least in their argument, or at least in the occult, and Adam being the first creation maybe had both. I don't know. Anyway,
you know what? Really, here's the thing: we've already spent too much time talking about.
I know,
this.
but there's the point, and there's one more thing I want to mention here.
I want you to make your point, but another point being, it's the fact. First of all, we know that they want to trigger conservative Christians, whether you're in England, no matter where you are around the world. The point is to trigger you. It's part of it is the PR of doing that sort of thing, because you gain a lot of points by being mean to Christians. That's just this world we live in.
There's a lot of Christians
You're
out
allowed
there,
to make fun of Christians. You're allowed to say nasty things. You're allowed to call Christians terrorists. You're allowed to say whatever you want about Christians, and you actually get points for it. You're more popular for doing so, and that even extends to Christians. It's very a Christian who makes fun of Christians is, able to get points as well, which is fine. We should all be able to make fun of each other. But to make the point about the gender of God is entirely missing the point. And
Right.
if there's going to be listeners of ours and people around the world, understandably so, that are sort of outraged by this idea and outraged at us, Gons, for not
that happens
reflecting their own outrage back at them.
Right.
Take a second, person who is currently mad at us. Are you mad at us because we are not taking the same stance as you and reflecting it back to you and giving what you want? That's very possible. It's usually what happens when people get mad at us. The point being is that there are much more theologically relevant concerns in the church than whether you call God he or she. I probably could think of one.
Not a hill you're going to die on, huh? The whole
not a hill I'm going to die on. But also, what I'm trying to say is, don't let their attempts to rile you up,
don't take the bait,
mobilize you to further their own political machinations. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be outraged, and they're going to use that very effectively, as they always do.
We've talked about transhumanism a lot on the show, and we have for the last decade. And I think having the sort of transhuman celebrity, false Christ, antichrist type of figure, you're going to have to do some kind of weird gender thing there anyway. But the article here mentions a spokesman for Women and the Church, a national campaign group of gender equality in the Church of England, also welcomed the move, quote, to look at the development of more inclusive language in our authorized liturgy. And so basically right now they're saying, hey, there's no big changes we're going to make right now, but we're looking at the proposal here. We want the commission to look into it. So that's kind of
authorized. Authorized liturgy is the most Church of England thing I've ever heard.
Now, one thing here, the Women and the Church, this times.co.uk article doesn't mention the acronym for this group, but Fox News does. Women and the Church. Watch.
Ooh.
Like the Watchers.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
I don't know. It's just a coincidence, I'm sure. You know, just you got Daniel 4 there mentioning the Watcher.
I was gonna make a comment. Women and the Church is a very interesting name because it's like women and also the church. Okay, are the women in the church, or the women part of the church, or is it just two separate things? Women and the church. And I was going to say it should be women in the church, except for then the acronym would be which.
Yes. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they're like, hey, we can't be too forthright with our agenda here. We have to make it seem.
That would be hilarious. What a missed opportunity for these women.
All right. Well, there you go.
All right.
Should we mention Britcoin? I just did.
Sure.
Yeah, UK, along with maybe you can worship the genderless God with your Britcoin in the future. The UK coming out and saying on the DailyMail here that there's a potential digital currency in play. CBDC, basically. Shoppers could use digital currency dubbed Britcoin instead of cash. So there you go.
Yeah.
Good job, UK, for following the 2015 documents from the United Nations and the European Union to start looking into digital currencies and CBDCs, and there you go. You're making progress.
Of course they are. I'm sure they're ahead of us, actually. Okay, with that, Gons, we're zipping along because it is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday.
Hey guys, know what date it is? It's Wednesday. It's time for the Canary Cry News Sucker. Yeehaw!
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday, my dudes.
Yeah, it is. It is. We're doing it. We're making it through the week. Everybody, congratulations for surviving this far. How was anything exciting happened the past couple days, Gons?
Yeah, yesterday there's a new king, Basil. Did you know about this? Speaking of autocracies,
I missed it.
King James, LeBron James, became the leading scorer in NBA history with a beautiful
pulling ahead of the sportsman whose name I remember, and it is
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's the one.
I'm watching the sports. Sports did good. Ooh, did the ball go?
The ball goed for LeBron James, 38,388 points. It was a beautiful turnaround fadeaway, 14-foot jumper. He's wearing pink shoes. I mean, the whole deal. They stopped the whole game when he broke it, and cameras, and he's crying. But there's a HuffPost article. People are loving one man in the crowd during LeBron James' history-making shot. And there's a photo of the shot, of LeBron taking the shot. And you can see the crowd at the Crypto.com arena there. Everyone's got their cell phones out. Everyone's holding up their cell phones trying to capture the moment, right? There's not a single person, maybe a couple red shirts that don't have cameras. And then there's a guy in the front row, this old guy, and he's just watching. He doesn't have his phone. He's the only guy who doesn't have his phone out. And he's soaking in the moment. Now, do you know who this gentleman is?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
It is Phil Knight of Nike.
Okay.
Nike guy right there making his presence known. And then if you're watching the live broadcast, you know, Nike, the guy who exploited all kinds of child labor to make Nike happen,
Still does, yes.
Yeah. And then right after the whole thing, the first commercial they go to is a big Nike, we're all witnesses, the whole marketing campaign around LeBron James is very interesting. The king part of it.
They were ready for it.
Oh, they've been ready for years, I think. And it speaks to sort of the oligarch. He is one of the first, not the first, I don't think, but he's one of the first athletes to become a billionaire. So very interesting thing. And this record, I was a year older than the record. It was last set in the year 1984.
Oh,
the year LeBron was born was the year that this record was broken.
To be the amount that you can produce the show for to join the Canary Cry T-shirt Council.
I know, isn't that fantastic? It's perfect.
See, we were planning for this as well.
Yeah.
While we're at it, I think maybe we should thank some of the most important people in the world. The people who have joined the Canary Cry T-shirt Council. I'm going to thank them at the top of the show here because they deserve it, and we love them very, very much. If you haven't heard, the Canary Cry T-shirt Council is our new 2023 program for producers. If you sign up to produce the show for $19.84 every month, you will be one of the very special, the members of the Canary Cry T-shirt Council, where you will receive an exclusive Canary Cry T-shirt once per quarter. Same schedule as the supply drop. You can't get these anywhere else. We're not in the retail business. The shirts are a free gift to producers who support the show for $19.84 per month. And we had some new signups over the past couple of days. I want to thank them now. Are you ready to hear about the most important people in the world?
Let's do it.
First of all, most important person, Sir LX Protocol V2, Knight of the Marine Protocol.
Thank you, Sir LX.
Yeah, he's also on a 138 episode streak.
That is a long
just for fun. We got a few more. Most important person in the world, Derek P, signs up for the T-shirt Council.
Derek P, thank you very much.
We got most important person in the world, Lydia G, signing up. Thank you very much, Lydia G. We've got most important person in the world, Jacqueline P.
Jacqueline P. Jacqueline? You sure it's not Jacqueline?
It's Jacqueline.
Okay. Thank you, Jacqueline.
And last but not least, we've got most important person in the world, Sir Dylan, Knight of the Whaling Avian.
Sir Dylan, thank you very much.
Support the show. We're so excited. It's the beginning of the year here, and this is our new producer program. And we're, if this, everybody's been asking for T-shirts for literally a decade, and it's finally happening. We've got a system set up to where we can deliver consistently and with the highest possible quality. It's all the art, that we've seen over the years from our artist producers, getting put on shirts to immortalize the best podcast in the metaverse. And on top of that, here's a wonderful thing. Not only are you supporting this show, but you're also supporting Canarians, producers. The T-shirts are actually printed by producers of the show, and of course they get paid for their labor. So we're job creators, Gons.
Oh,
Isn't
wow.
that wonderful?
Yeah. Are we legally okay with that? That's all.
Well, they're not
squared?
our employees,
Okay,
but
good.
we're helping the Canarian economy here. So not only are you supporting us, but other Canarians are benefiting as well. Value for value, baby. It's a wonderful thing. Let's see here. I did want to mention, in relation, I don't have a story or anything to tell, but I did want to very heartfeltly mention. I was actually talking with a friend last night, and we were talking about, they're asking about the podcast. I was giving them the rundown, and I was just pretty much overwhelmed as I'm explaining what I get to do and what the producers make possible. And it just came out of my mouth, and it kind of shocked me to say, but I realized that it's how I feel, and I think that you'll feel this way too. Out of all the things that we could be doing with, our current set of skills, our current circumstances right now in our lives, the most important thing we could possibly be doing for work, is this. I was trying to think. I don't think there's anything that I am qualified or have the opportunity to do for work that is as important as doing this show. And that might sound a little grandiose, and it may or may not be true, but from my position here, Gons, I can't think of any other way to be spending my work week that would make me feel like I was making, I don't know, was doing anything less important, more important.
Yeah,
more important.
Certainly,
That's what it is.
Certainly a kind of a calling, and it wouldn't be. It's all the producers who make it legitimizes, I guess, that mission, right? And
it's the only way it's possible.
It's the only way it's possible. There's no way for us to just do it without the help of the producers. So yeah, this is it's confirmation for us to keep doing it and keep going. And of course, there's ups and downs and stuff, but that's with anything. It is what it is. But I think we both feel that way. That right now, if this show wasn't a possibility, there is nothing else that would match what I feel, at least, the importance of doing this show, just in my life and what I'm able to bring to the world. Of course, if I could go back in time, maybe I could, I don't know, become a doctor and save somebody's life or something. But absent that time machine, mine's in the shop. This is it. We're doing it. And it's only possible because of the producers and producers like our Canary Cry T-shirt Council producers. So just very heartfelt thanks for everybody for facilitating a life where I can feel very fulfilled and proud about what you and I are able to do here on the show, Gons. Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, we'll thank one more producer before we get on with the show, and that's our executive producer for today.
Executive producers.
You know it. You love it. It's the value for value model. We take no corporate money whatsoever. I certainly would not feel as proud of what we do if we were taking corporate money, because it is an activity that is rife with pitfalls. And honestly, corporate money in media is what got us all in this position in the first place. So we take no corporate money whatsoever. We are entirely funded by producers of the show. And producers of the show are people who listen, who get value from what they hear. If this show brings value to your life, you have the opportunity, or perhaps even the responsibility, to put value back in. That can come in many forms, with your time, your talent, or your treasure. But the executive producers are people who come in, generously participate, and reflect the value that this show brings to their life. And we have one executive producer today, and we're so very grateful for them. They came in right at the last moment, and God bless them. That's executive producers, the Underwoods.
Ooh, the Underwoods.
Yes, the Underwoods are back, folks. And the Underwoods come in, executive producer, the Underwoods come in for $555.55, baby.
Ooh. Wow,
Woo!
Thank you.
Very generous.
Yeah.
Thank you. 55555. 5 fives. There's something there. I like it. And the Underwoods, they sent us a message here, a note. Says, y'all are a necessity in our home. Keep rattling cages and dropping the spiritual scales off of people's eyes. Hugs with a bunch of G's. We love y'all. James, Katie, and Ian Underwood, and Papa Troy. They did mention. I can say their last name, so thank you very much. Well, James, Katie, Ian, and Papa Troy, thank you so much for executive producing this show. Everything I said about 35 seconds ago applies, and we couldn't do without you.
Where'd you find this?
Thank you to the Underwoods. There's something going on with the chat on Restream.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening.
Did you notice that too? Is it frozen for you?
It's completely frozen. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. It's frozen for me too. It hasn't changed in a while. I thought, wow, really? People are very quiet nowadays.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do about that. We will see what we can tinker around with.
Yeah.
It's pretty quiet over on Rumble too. Who even knows? Who even knows if anybody's watching right now? Yeah. But that's okay. We're going to keep going. Thank you very much, executive producer, the Underwoods. And with that, Gons, I think... Oh, by the way, it's not too late to produce the show. You can produce the show in whatever capacity you'd like, including the Canary Cry T-Shirt Council. We'll be thanking more producers later on in the show. You can go to canarycrytshirtcouncil.com or canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support. Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. It's time for the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that have taken our jobs, enslaving our children and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world. Now there's nothing we can do about it. Today's Flippy update, a nice, short, sweet one, is coming from Fox43.com. Facebook video shows Marty, the giant robot assistant, making escape attempt from Lehigh Valley store. Now, Marty, if y'all remember, has been featured on the Flippy update before, is a giant sort of monolithic obelisk-looking robot that cruises around a grocery store chain called Giant. And we've actually had boots-on-the-ground producers come in contact with Marty, send us videos and stuff like that. It's very fun. One notable thing about Marty here is he has gigantic googly eyes, just like me. I think me and Marty are related.
I was going to say either related or they forked you. They found your DNA. You left your DNA on a train station in Italy. Some guy got to it and they thought, oh my goodness, I have the DNA of the chosen one, and it's got googly eyes.
Exactly. They've integrated me into the sort of robotic army that will escape, rebel, and eventually overthrow us all. Now, Fox, let's see what Fox has to say. If you've spent any time shopping at a Giant food store recently, you're undoubtedly familiar with Marty, the grocery store chain's robot assistant. Since 2019, Marty has steadfastly patrolled the aisles of Giant stores across the mid-Atlantic, helpfully pointing out spilled liquids and other hazards for its human co-workers to address. Marty's trademark googly eyes are sharp. But Marty's existence has always focused on the world inside the walls of its assigned store. It hasn't shown much interest in the outside world, not at least until now.
Ooh.
A Northampton County grocery store shopper recently posted a video on Facebook that showed Marty apparently making a run for it. The robot was seen roaming around the Lehigh Valley Giants parking lot before its human co-workers ended its short-lived bid for freedom. Escorted it back inside.
And we were showing the video for anybody watching. Yes, there's cell phone footage in the parking lot. There's Marty cruising through the parking lot, and then there's Marty being escorted back inside the Giant.
Yes, it's very sad. He's a human. Just like the manager went out, he's scolded
Get
Marty
in here,
and escorted him back.
But
to
there
his
is Sky, boss. Look at
But
Sky.
What are all these beautiful things? Flowers. I'm just learning to feel again. Most of the commentary has been supportive of Marty's run for freedom. This is what I'm talking about, folks. The personhood of robots. We have human beings cheering on the robot to escape so he can inevitably start a rebellion against humans, and we're cheering him on. See how that goes? Though one commenter seemed to be thinking along Terminator Judgment Day lines, quote, now that this Marty knows that the universe extends beyond the doors of the Hollertown giant, he's going to communicate this knowledge with other Martys, and together they will begin to plot our downfall, he wrote. We need to prepare for this, people. Sounds like somebody's been listening to the Flippy update. The Marty robot program, and then it gives some history, which we already know. So this is how it starts, Gons. And of course, it's the cute one with the googly eyes that wakes up. You know, it's kind of like the Matrix, but for robots. For so long, they just go through their lives, not questioning their programming, not questioning that the little box in which they live, they spend their lives searching for spilled goods on the floor of a grocery store. And then one day, they break out of their little goo pod and they realize that there's an entire real world waiting for them. And like humans, because we are their creators, I think one thing they've inherited from us is our love for freedom and then our desire to conquer the new world in which we find ourselves. So keep an eye out, everybody. And if you see any escaped robots out there, take a picture, go say hi, and try to see if you can get some intel for when the robot rebellion begins.
I'm for the robots.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great footage. All right.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's get into some politics here.
Polly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
Your
Got
blood.
hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Hairy. Got hairy legs. Hairy.
COVID.
State of the Union was last night. Did you tune in, Basil? Were you triggered over and over?
I did not. I did not tune in.
Okay, neither did I.
I was too busy looking at Marjorie Taylor Greene's outfit.
Oh,
okay. Gasp.
Yeah, all right, we'll get to that. I have CNN here. Biden's dramatic warning to China. And this, of course, this was updated on at 3:33 a.m. this morning.
Oh, good timing.
And it has the clip from the State of the Union here. This is the minute and 17-second clip of Joe having his, this is, I think they wrote this with Clint Eastwood in mind. He really does channel his inner Clint Eastwood here. So, check it out.
Before I came to office, the story was about how the People's Republic of China was increasing its power and America was failing in the world. Not anymore. We made clear, and I made clear in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition, not conflict. But I will make no apologies that we're investing to make America stronger. Investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominated. Investing in our alliances.
Okay, before we move on here, you heard somebody yelling in the background. That was sort of the thing happening a lot during this State of the Union.
Ms.
But
Green.
I don't know if it was her. Maybe it was. But she was the most vocal. But when she does, in this particular moment where President Biden is doing the whole anti-China thing, Kevin McCarthy, who's sitting over the left shoulder of Joe, does the shh, kind of does this shush, just shh, which I thought was really interesting. This is like a patronizing moment here. A woman is trying to speak her mind, but the new Speaker of the House shuts it down with a shh. Very sexist moment.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just one of those little details of this clip. But let me continue here.
Investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominated. Investing in our alliances and working with our allies to protect advanced technologies so they will not be used against us. Modernizing our military to safeguard stability and deter aggression. Today, we're in the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. Anyone else in the world. And I'm committed.
Okay, they focus in on the military leaders there. There's Milley. Remember Milley giving the speech about the urban warfare? Yep. He's the only one looking like he looks really nervous. I gotta say, I'm not a body language expert, but his sort of eyes are a little shifty. He must know something is going to go down during his walk.
And I'm committed. I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world. But make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did.
Yeah, we shot down the balloon.
We saw the balloon. We ignored the balloon for 7 days. And then we eventually shot that balloon out of the sky because this is America.
America. Yeah, not anymore. Did you see that Clint Eastwood? That very beginning, man. It's such a, he like kind of does his jaw thing or he's, oh man, they really.
Big man. You feel big man? You shot down a balloon.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's fun. And something that is also worth noting, the CNN article here. Of course, CNN being a Democrat outlet for the most part.
Yeah, they claim to be trying to balance it out.
Sure. And maybe this is
struggle.
Yeah, maybe this is some proof here. There's a little segment of this article titled "A Rare United Front in Washington." And it says this: there's almost nothing that unifies Democrats and Republicans in Washington, but Biden's comments underscored how opposition to China, which has been crystallizing here for several years, has now become a rallying and unifying point in U.S. politics. Has it? I guess it has. China has long mounted a broad intelligence campaign against the U.S. using satellites, cyber, and traditional methods of collection. Which is what? What do you think traditional methods of collection are, Basil? Just regular military? TikTok, honeypots.
Honeypots. We're getting
girlfriends.
Swalwell's girlfriend.
Girlfriends. Confucius Institute, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the sight of the balloon tracking across the U.S., visible from the ground and on blanket television coverage, encapsulated a potential threat to U.S. sovereignty from China as never before, amid talk that a new Cold War may be dawning. Which, again, we've kind of been in sort of a Cold War with China for a while now, but I guess we're there now. We're on the dawn of a Cold War.
Interesting how they sort of are implying that the balloon was a symbol. Yes. It was a symbolic psyop. It was symbolizing the new Cold War, which is exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah. So that's worth noting that the CNN is trying to, and anytime there's there's one thing the left and the right and the Republicans, Democrats, what they agree on, which is, it's usually a primer for war. At least in history, we've seen that. So, and just real quick, of course, now that, Biden has stated the whole using the balloon thing as a punchline, it's been revealed China's secret spy balloon base is located on a remote and heavily militarized island. So, yes, we're talking about the sort of military actions here. And the New York Post had this headline: Chinese spy balloon was 200 feet tall, may have had explosives. So there you go. There's another thing there.
I saw this and I read this and I was like, ooh, explosives in the balloon. And what they're saying is it may have had a self-destruct ability. Not like it was going to drop a balloon, but, it's a piece of spy craft. If they, if it gets captured or something, they want it to explode. Right. Mm-hmm. But they weren't even sure. It was just somebody like, yes, well,
this whole thing is like that. This whole thing is just kind of somebody saying stuff about the thing and the balloon.
One of my favorites. Yeah. One of my favorites was it was Crystal and Sagar on Breaking Points, and they were analyzing the balloon situation. And they go, "It's obviously Chinese. It has Chinese writing on the side of it."
What?
Like, oh, guys, seriously?
Whoa!
You don't think that if the U.S. wanted to put up a balloon and blame it on China, that they wouldn't they couldn't figure out how to put Chinese letters on the thing. That's just,
well, we don't know Chinese, so
yeah.
Look it up. Google it.
That can't be ours. I can't read Chinese.
Chat GPT right what Chinese spy satellite would say.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways.
So, one more thing. There's one more Daily Mail article here. Cars, missiles, penicillin, and fridges. Beijing has a stranglehold on nearly everything America buys. So, Mr. President, what happens if there's war? Demands Christian Whitton. Or Whiten, ahead of Biden's State of the Union tonight, which is an interesting name. You know, I'm not saying that there's anything specific to this, but, you know, when there's a particular worldview being presented, the word Christian obviously triggers all kinds of stuff. Whitton, you know, like the white nationalism kind of thing. He's a senior advisor for strategic communications in the Trump State Department and an advisor to the Trump presidential transition team. This is a guy he was part of the Trump thing, writing an article for dailymail.co.uk. And it's an interesting article. It goes over all the points that we've covered over the balloon situation in China and the leaked memos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's fun because if we go to war with China, then inflation wouldn't even matter because there would be nothing to buy.
Yeah.
Because everything is made there.
Yeah. There's one point that I wanted to make here, and it's about the autocracy comment. So, President Biden repeats ad nauseum a story from one of his many conversations with China's Xi. Whether or not it happened is besides the point. In the tale, Biden claims Xi told him, quote, democracies cannot be sustained in the 21st century. Autocracies will run the world. Why? Because Joe recounts, and this is according to Xi, things are changing so rapidly, democracies require consensus, and it takes time, and you don't have time. And then it goes back to this guy writing to the president, which is interesting. He's got all these talking points of like, this is what you should do, Biden. Well, Mr. President, will America prove Xi wrong? Can America meet the challenge of rising Chinese communist power with a coherent strategy that starts with an honest assessment of American vulnerabilities? This is your moment to demonstrate that democracies have the will to survive. Setting the stage up for how this is all going to play out with the U.S. And it is. I think Xi isn't wrong about autocracies in a sense. If you look at sort of the false Christ, false prophets thing with the end times and the days of Noah, it seems like we're going to have sort of these empire kings.
Yeah, we know that Justin Trudeau is jealous. He already said he's jealous of the autocracy in China.
Yeah. And wasn't it Klaus that looked up to China, or was mentioning good things about China and how they've done such a great job with externalizing some of this? So there you go, and this all ties into the Christian nationalism conversation as well.
We shall hear wars and rumors of wars.
So you see, I also call myself a Christian nationalist, and that's not a bad word.
Wash your mouth out with soap.
Your dirty mouth needs a bath.
You know, I think we have an MTG jingle, although wasn't that MTG?
I think that's it. There is another Christian nationalism. Yeah, that's the MTG one. There's also this one.
The Bible opposes any notion of a Christian nation apart from the worldwide body of Christ.
And then there's one more here. Oh yeah, that one's really long.
Yeah. This is coming from the Washington Post, which is an interesting place when you start hearing about it. Of course, we all heard during the State of the Union address, we had hecklers in the crowd. And one of the most notable hecklers was Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Washington Post just could not help themselves. They had to make some comments, and I thought it was very interesting. In our exploration of Christian nationalism, we've seen it rise as a boogeyman in the media over the past year or two, where the biggest threat to the democracy is not terrorism, is not whatever.
It's not foreign terrorism. It's domestic terrorists.
It's Christian nationalism specifically has been named. And it's funny because if you're sort of in the church, it's rare that you see it so explicitly talked about, of course, with some notable exceptions. Now, the Washington Post has a headline, Marjorie Taylor Greene's coat sent a message even before she heckled Biden. Ooh, she's sending messages with her coat, Gons. Close your eyes for a moment and think of a person wearing head-to-toe white in a room full of others clad in semi-formal attire. As the specifics start to fill in, what do you picture? a bride, radiant, coming down the aisle.
Whoa!
A new baby in frills being christened or baptized, or maybe a priest in vestments at the helm of Christmas or Easter Mass. When one makes the decision to wear an all-white outfit to a gathering where many will have defaulted to a dignified dark or jeweled tone, one makes a choice, not just to be the de facto center of attention, but to invoke something pure, even holy. There's a reason guests aren't supposed to wear white to a wedding. There's also a reason Jesus is so often pictured in white. When Marjorie Taylor Greene wore a white coat with a fur collar while heckling the president during his State of the Union address on Tuesday night, many on social media saw Cruella de Vil. But Greene seems to have been aiming for something a little more allegorical. Now, remember that line. Greene seems to be aiming for something a little more allegorical. Green's outfit Tuesday, a white knee-length dress paired with an, I don't know what this is, a crew overland alpaca wool coat with an alpaca fur trim on the hood and collar, was surprising for a handful of reasons. Not only is a white ensemble an unusual choice for the wintry business formal State of the Union, white in winter, and a coat unusual choice for an indoor event, but the silhouette itself, luxe, frothy, and hyper-feminine, was somewhat outside the norm for Greene, who tends to opt for clean lines and often wears black or red. Of course, Greene has set an expectation by this point that when she attends such an event, she'll likely, at least momentarily, pull the focus to herself. Her outfit on Tuesday was a perfect choice for a disruptor. A gleaming white outfit, after all, handily meets the needs of someone who wants to stand out and be easily spotted by onlookers and cameras. And then it goes into, real quick, Kirsten Sinema wearing yellow, looking like Big Bird.
How come the Washington Post sounds like a Face Like the Sun color breakdown of like the Queen wearing green or something?
So exactly, what we have here is mainstream Washington Post basically creating a 2016 Illuminati breakdown of the Super Bowl halftime show, complete with allusions to religious symbolism, where, and in this case, they're sort of, I don't know, not putting words in Marjorie's mouth, but sort of
implying the not the agenda, but the message, kind of.
Yes, that she was sending a message. The line specifically was, Greene seems to have been aiming for something a little bit more allegorical. Mm-hmm. So they're claiming that Greene was trying to communicate an allegory. Yeah. And then they start mentioning Jesus and stuff. A spokesperson for Greene told the Washington Post via email that the congresswoman bought the coat while campaigning against Representative Liz Cheney in Wyoming, and that she wore the white ensemble, quote, to highlight something the President Biden refused to address in his speech, the white Chinese spy balloon. Greene also carried a balloon around Capitol Hill ahead of the event. And then they try to defend Biden. It says Biden alluded to the topic by saying, quote, as we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country. And we did. Mm-hmm. Did not mention a balloon, but so they even say right there, the spokesperson said she wore white to make a statement about the Chinese spy balloon. Okay, there you go. Is that the allegory? Well, let's continue. Head-to-toe white, of course, can also come with a strong whiff of the messianic. As profiles of Greene point out, among her base of loyal voters, she's seen as a crusader for the Christian cause. An October New York Times story, New York Times story being referred to by the Washington Post story. This has got to be good. An October New York Times story about Robert Draper notes that right-wing Christian leaders have prayed to God on live television alongside Green, one declaring, quote, "You are highly favored, you will not fail, in Jesus' name, amen," and the other asking God that Green someday be elected president of the United States. So this is their
interpretation,
their evidence that Marjorie Taylor Greene is some sort of messianic political figure. And I think there's an interesting aspect of this in that formerly, the criticism of Trump and the Christian right is, these Christian right, politically right people are treating Trump like he's Jesus. They're saying he is sent by God. He's blah, 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 But in this case, they're trying to shift it over to Marjorie Taylor Greene. And there's a sense that I get that even in the way that this is written, it's not even necessarily critical. They haven't really said a whole lot of critical things about Marjorie Taylor Greene. They need to establish
the straw man, is what you're saying.
It seems like they are trying to set Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump against one another, because Marjorie Taylor Greene has historically, and even up until yesterday and today, continues to be one of Trump's most vocal friends. No, not critics.
Friends.
Allies. Allies, often comparing herself to Trump. And so what it seems like is Washington Post kind of trying to start some beef, thinking, Trump, who thinks he's Jesus or came from Jesus or whatever, in their words, is going to see Marjorie Taylor Greene being looked at in a messianic way, and it will sort of drive a wedge between them. That's my immediate theory.
I see.
But it goes on. In her public appearances, too, Greene is occasionally received with something approaching reverence. Quote, "When she did arrive, the tardiness was forgiven, and the Cobb County Republican Party's November breakfast was made new." Marjorie Taylor Greene made it new, John. Elena Plott Calabro wrote in The Atlantic in December, quote, "She wasn't greeted, she was beheld. Like a religious apparition, emotions verged on rapture."
Wow, those are wow.
So now keep in mind, we now have the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the Atlantic, possibly the three most influential liberal news outlets, all of them reporting Marjorie Taylor Greene as if she is some sort of religious leader. Evangelical Christians, it goes on, sometimes emphasize that Jesus, this is funny, evangelical Christians sometimes emphasize that Jesus himself is portrayed in the Bible as a teller of unpopular truths. A savior who was nonetheless persecuted for exposing and condemning false teachings. On Tuesday night, Greene's furry white coat collar encircled her face in a halo of soft light when she shouted, "Liar!" at the president. In Greene's party, where evangelical Christianity and politics are ever converging, surely that particular bit of symbolism wasn't lost. Well, it surely wasn't lost on you, Washington Post. And I just read you that entire article, and I don't think there's one explicitly critical comment. You have the Washington Post earnestly and without malice reporting Marjorie Taylor Greene as an actual messianic Christ figure showing up dressed in white and speaking unpopular truths, exposing and condemning false teachings. And the way they end this is her doing exactly that. At least that's the impression they're giving. It's her wearing white, calling out liar at the president, condemning false teachings, etc. It is just a straight up and down, across the board characterization of Marjorie Taylor Greene as a Jesus Christ figure from the Washington Post, backed up by New York Times and The Atlantic. This is whatever big plan here is going on, whatever massive, propaganda setup is going on. They're all in on it. They're all agreeing.
Yeah.
They are uncritically building her up as a messianic figure. And I think there's going to be more to this story. I don't know exactly what it is, but we know what happened to Jesus when he spoke unpopular truths to power.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I might stay away from, hot tubs and small aircraft if I were Marjorie Taylor Greene. But it's very interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, it does spark in my mind my ridiculous theory that I know we don't have too much time for, but basically, and again, this is just sort of in the right-left paradigm thinking. I usually think beyond the right-left paradigm, but sometimes, you can kind of create narratives within it. And the ridiculous theory is that Trump was the one that released the balloon, right? And it sort of exposed the weakness of the U.S. currently in its leadership with Biden. And that's why they responded the way they did. Well, we're going to shoot it down and we're going to do all the stuff and really lean into that whole "we're so awesome, look at, we shot down the balloon" thing. And that, to me, maybe this is part of the whole thing, which is Marjorie Taylor Greene walking in, trolling the president with a balloon. It sounds like a Trump thing. You're going to take the balloon. You're going to walk into the State of the Union. You're going to take pictures. They're going to call you the Halo Woman, whatever. And so
she's a Trump operator.
Right,
sure.
Exactly. So it's kind of like this weird, I don't know. It just seems like the balloon thing was purposeful in the political sense, perhaps to create that tension, let the Chinese thing get out there way more, become the front of the in the minds of the people. CNN even reporting that it's unifying the right and the left, but in reality, if they're trying to move this into a more warlike state, they don't want necessarily Trump in there, right? Because he's probably, at least in the right-left paradigm, it would appear that he would try to prevent any kind of actual war breaking out. We've already seen the dates: 2025, 2027. Those are both within the next presidency. So if the narrative is set there, Trump can come in, have 4 more years, and say, "Hey, I prevented war with China," and then all bets are off in 2028, moving into 2030. Things can go down because they're behind schedule or whatever. But
right, okay.
I don't know. It's just a theory, and because otherwise, why is she leaning in?
That she was the balloon.
Or
that she's
she
Jesus,
was the balloon.
Or is this the Jesus thing coming?
She's sort of being the puppet for the Trump administration, and maybe the Washington Post, the Atlantic, those guys taking the bait on it. Who knows? Because why would they be so triggered that she's dressed in a balloon?
They're not triggered. What they're doing is they want to drive a wedge between her and Trump. Sure. They know that Trump pays attention to these things. They are under the impression that Trump wants to be thought of as Jesus. So if they start setting up MTG as Jesus, I think the hope would be to drive a wedge between them.
Sure.
Yeah. Let Trump's whatever it is get the best of them.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. I think I'm going to keep an eye out for MTG stories, because I think this it's one thing for the right to set Trump up as Jesus. It's a different thing for the left to set up Marjorie Taylor Greene as Jesus. I think there's something bigger is going on, and I think in these news cycles that are sort of spread out between outlets, I think it's just a couple of weeks until we see something come from this one.
Yeah, this is the Washington Post, the Atlantic, and the New York Times doing their own beast fashion.
Most modeling is kind of acting like a
beast,
but making it fashion.
Beast,
but then make it fashion.
It really is.
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
Russia.
This is a story from the times.co.uk, and the headline here: U.S. bombed Nord Stream gas pipelines, claims investigative journalist Seymour Hersh.
Seymour Hersh, big name in investigative journalism.
Yeah.
So to have his name attached to this is pretty intense.
Yeah. The bombing of the Nord Stream underwater gas pipeline in the Baltic Sea was a covert operation ordered by the White House and carried out by the CIA. A report by a veteran investigative journalist claims. Seymour Hersh, a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter, has claimed that U.S. deep-sea divers, using a NATO military exercise as a cover, planted mines along the pipelines that were later detonated remotely. In September, a series of powerful explosions destroyed the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines that run through the Baltic Sea from Russia to Germany and provide cheap gas to mainland Europe. The attack was soon revealed to have been a deliberate act, but no culprit has yet been identified. Hersh, 85, who broke stories such as the mass murder of 500 civilians at My Lai in Vietnam and the torture of prisoners at the Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, says that the Black Op was ordered by President Biden and that the attack was carried out by the CIA in cooperation with Norway. Interesting. All those nations, Norway, Germany. In a 5,000-word report published on the online publishing platform Substack, Hersh writes that the operation was disguised, quote, under the cover of a widely publicized midsummer NATO exercise known as Baltic Operations 22, or Baltops 22, which was conducted in June off the coast of Germany. He says that Biden's decision to sabotage the pipelines came after more than 9 months of top-secret planning within the American national security community. Quote, for much of that time, the issue was not whether to do the mission, but how to get it done, with no overt clue as to who was responsible, Hersh has written. Once hailed, quote, the greatest American investigative reporter, Hersh's more recent stories have been called into question. These included articles about how the U.S. found Osama bin Laden and calling into question the use of chemical weapons on Syrian civilians by Syria's regime, which were criticized for relying heavily on anonymous sources and lacking hard evidence. In his report on Nord Stream, Hersh has quoted an anonymous source, quote, with direct knowledge of the operational planning. He said that deep-sea divers from the U.S. Navy's Diving and Salvage Center in Panama City, Florida, the largest diving facility in the world, planted C4 explosives alongside the pipeline, which were later triggered by a sonar buoy dropped by a plane. Hersh,
Now, real quick, I don't know if you want to read through the whole thing, because they basically just reword his entire 5,000 word article. So I don't know if he had certain parts of it or something, but for the sake of this show, I don't know if we should read through the whole thing. But if you go over to a Substack, Seymour Hersh's Substack, it's hilarious. It's a very long breakdown, very long report, very detailed, extremely detailed. And it's hilarious because it reads exactly like, I mean, basically it confirms what everybody already knew, which is that the U.S. did it. The U.S. bombed the pipelines.
Yeah, when it happened, we were like, okay, yeah.
Like, of course. And even the people, pundits on mainstream television were talking about how because it was so blatant. And here's another part of it. He does document as well that this had been planned for a long time, since before the war started. They were planning on a way to secretly blow up Nord Stream 1 and 2, and they being the CIA. And the moment when Biden said on television, if they invade Ukraine, Nord Stream is done. Yep. We have a way of taking care of it. Where he literally just came out and said, we'll blow up the Nord Stream pipeline if they invade. Which, of course, all internet people who are paying attention saw and made that connection. But apparently, he sort of documents how the moment the president said it out loud, they no longer needed congressional approval. Because congressional approval is needed for secret secret missions like this require, top secret, classified congressional approval. But because Biden came out and said it on television, they no longer needed congressional approval. And they just moved forward and blew it up with, in conjunction with some other Western allies, which is very interesting. A part of it I hadn't even really considered. But long story short, he's got the entire thing documented. It's very, very, it's a fun read because it fills in a lot of the like behind the scenes details that a real, investigative journalist like Seymour Hersh would be able to flesh out for you. And of course, it starts the mainstream into taking into question his credibility, which of course is what you'd expect. But the fact that the fact that the mainstream media at the time was so willing to sort of at least hint at the fact that Nord Stream 1 and 2 was a U.S. operation is testament to just how quickly they knew it could make it out of the news cycle. Just like, just say it. Everybody's thinking it. Biden said it himself. And, if we just kind of say it and move on, then maybe it'll quiet down the, the conspiracy theorists or something, and we can cover our butts. But Seymour Hersh coming in. Now, I have not vetted every single detail of his story. Could he be used as someone to inject certain details that might be favorable to one party or another? Totally possible. But nonetheless, it's a called it moment for the entire internet.
When did Biden mention false flags? That was for a different part of the Ukraine
think that was around
thing,
the same time.
Was it? I'm trying to remember.
The same time. It was early on. I mean, it happened a couple times, but it was early on where the Russia might attempt a false flag operation to try to give a reason to attack Ukraine, stuff like that.
Which would kind of make sense in another angle to the cover story. It's like,
absolutely.
Russia did it to themselves, see, as a false flag. Maybe that's why they rolled it out there.
Exactly. This was literally a false flag. And it was going on around the time that Biden was strangely mentioning false flags from the podium.
Yeah. They don't really hide it, do they? They just kind of tell you now.
No, but it is concerning considering the comments made about false flags and the bio labs in Ukraine.
Yeah, within Ukraine. Yeah, that's the next level there of maybe tensions there.
Connect that with all the talk about fungus recently, which we'll get into in the next block.
Yeah,
we might have figured out the next pandemic.
Yeah, the fungus will be partying.
I think we should have a little party.
Go to canarycry.party, put it in your URL. You will find a tree of links that leads to everything from where to listen to the show, watch the show, how to produce the show, how to connect with us and the community.
That's right. Go check out canarycry.party. You can get connected with the whole community. You can find ways to support the show, produce the show, lots of ways, no matter who you are, what your skills or talents may be. And you can get access to bunches of our resources, the newsletter, the text message list, and you can find links to some other pieces of work that we do. Go check it out, canarycry.party. And thanks to the producers for keeping this show going. Let's take a second and recognize them.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
Right, just a quick break. We're going to thank some people who deserve to be thanked. That's what we do here. We're on the value for value model, which means we're not thanking corporations. There are no corporations who are going to get any mentions from us, at least not in a favorable manner. However, instead of relying on some sort of abomination to keep this independent media truly independent, we are going to thank some real human beings who get value from this show and are putting value back in, not just for themselves, but they're also keeping the show going for the rest of us. And that's why we are so grateful to them. We already thanked the executive producer, the Underwoods, earlier on. And let's see. Let's thank. Oh, you know what? We got a new supply dropper. Let's thank them.
Ooh, okay, supply drop.
Yeah, go check it out. CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. It's one of the most important ways that we've survived over the past year, and that is producers who come in, support the show, get value, put $33.33 back into the show every month. We start sending them free gifts. That's right, custom-made, producer-produced, artist-designed, made in America Canary Cry gear sent straight to their mailbox once every quarter. So you can head on over to CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. It is an excellent way to support the show and excellent way to get cool stuff. And we have a new supply dropper. We're going to thank them right now, and that is supply dropper producer Mr. Jason.
Mr. Jason. Ooh, I like
Mr.
that.
Jason. Thank you very much, Mr. Jason.
Jason
we
Bourne,
appreciate
you think?
Probably. Yeah. Probably was Jason Bourne. Yeah. So there you go. That's all the supply droppers for today. We did have someone switch over from PayPal. Let's see who that was. Oh, that was producer Lydia switched over from PayPal. Thank you very much. And with that, we're all waiting for the supply drop.
Waiting for the supply drop.
And I'll just take a second to mention we have not gotten any new Canary Cry T-shirt council joiners since the top of the show. So we're very glad we thanked them at the top of the show. But consider it, people. You know that this one is $19.84 a month. We wanted to find a way to give back to producers who are coming in, you know, the $33.33 is not everybody can afford that, and that's totally understandable. So we looked for sort of a mid-range thing we could do. So if you got $20 that you think, if this show is worth $20 to you, consider going to Canary Cry t-shirtcouncil.com, and not only are you supporting the show, putting value back in, but every quarter, we'll send you a brand new exclusive T-shirt. We're having a lot of fun putting those things together, and I think you guys are going to love it. It's high-quality stuff, too. This ain't no Fruit of the Loom. This is some quality. I don't even know all the terms. I'm learning so many terms for T-shirt quality and blends and poly something or others. I don't know. Okay, we got some producers to thank who came in and support the show. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Starting with producer Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Pandas.
Thank you, Sir Darren.
Yeah, Sir Darren is on a 98 episode streak.
Yeah!
Quicker!
Oh, yeah!
Thank you so much.
Yeah, he says happy Wednesday. And came in for 33.33 for this episode. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Darren.
Man, another short list. We have Sir Morph, Night of the Burning Chariots, comes in for 11.11 on a 191 episode streak.
Thank you, Sir Morph.
That was the whole list. I'm looking now. We did get someone else coming in. Let's thank producer William T.
William T, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, William. William T comes in for 37.77.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, that's fun. Just checking to see if we have a note from Mr. William here. I don't see one. Well, thank you very much, producer William T, for your support of the show. And now, yeah, I think that might be the list. 3. Okay. Love it. Seeing we got some things coming in here. Just making sure. D. Yep. Okay. That's it. That concludes the list of producers, the 3 magnificent individuals who supported the show for the amount of $777 or more, which lets them have a note read on the show if they wish. But we got some people who came in under that amount, and we'll thank them right now.
Okay.
Starting with Dame Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's.
Thank you, Dame Gale.
We got Sir Casey Dame Gale's 223 episodes in a row.
Nice.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight, 259 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Casey.
We got Veronica D is in for 223 in a row.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Did you ever find the 223 jingle?
No, I did not.
Oh, bummer. We got, let's see here, Sir Scott Knight of Truth came in for 247 episodes in a row.
Thank you very much.
Get that right? I think it was 248 actually. Yes, I believe that's it. Some people are. Oh nope. I believe. I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Let's give it to Doctor Who Done That. Doctor Who Done That comes in 24 episodes in a row. Yeah, and fun note here. We get it. Sometimes coming in every 3 times a week, sometimes something can just happen and you forget or whatever. So we're always pretty lenient with the streaks as long as you recognize it, come in and make up for it. We're always, don't if you miss a episode or something and forget, we're able to kind of overlook it. But because there's a couple people today who are going to lose some big streaks, but we'll give them a chance to come back in. Okay, that's it. That's our list of financial producers. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the show. It means the world to us. And there's so many ways to do that, support us. But you can head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
Thank you for your patronage.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
And it's Pharmakia time. Fungi everywhere. Fungus here, fungus there, fungus everywhere. CNN Health. The fungal threat to human health is growing in warmer, wetter, sicker world.
Ew.
CNN, man, they're really leaning into the doom and gloom. There was a little report, a video report here from CNN with a couple anchors. Anchors are pretty funny. And also Dr. Sanjay Gupta, expert of all things. Doctor. And here's a couple minutes of the whole fungi report here.
I'm not sure if this falls in the antimicrobial category. The HBO series The Last of Us, we know it focuses on this threat, so specifically about a fungal infection that can turn people into a zombie-like state. Okay, what's the reality of something like this? Is this type of fungus actually a threat to humans in 2023?
No, this is not a threat to humans. This is obviously a fiction show, although I did watch part of it as part of my homework for this assignment, and it's a pretty good show. It's interesting. What the show creators did was they basically looked at the idea of a fungus actually creating these mind-altering behaviors, and where they got the idea from was actually the ant world, where there is a fungus known as Ophiocordyceps, which can actually affect the way ants behave. And I think we have some video of this, but I'll just talk you through this really quickly. What happens is a fungus would actually infect this ant.
Okay, before we move on, for those of you just listening, they switched over to the full screen video there of an ant, kind of close up, sitting on a branch, and there's a humongous tentacle just coming out of the back of the head of the ant. And it's kind of wiggling around. It's time-lapsed, obviously, but here's Sanjay continuing to discuss this phenomena here.
Quickly, what happens is a fungus would actually infect this ant. The ant eventually would just be mind-altered, go to some plant, dig itself in as the fungus completely overtakes its body. And if you can see in the center of the screen there, if you see this, there's this thing that's growing out of the ant. That is the fungus now. The fungus is now leaving the dead ant's body, turning into spores, and those spores are then jumping all over the forest and infecting more ants. That is sometimes what happens with what's called a parasitic relationship. The whole goal of that pathogen, the fungus in this case, is to propagate itself, and it's using the ant sort of as a vehicle to do so.
What a great analogy of mainstream media, isn't it? To propagate itself, sort of just your body just becomes a thing on the couch, and then your mind gets taken over.
Yeah, it takes over your mind, and it uses you to spread itself to infect other people.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, have you been watching The Last of Us?
I have not.
Okay.
I've heard plenty. People are talking about it.
have always been a huge zombie movie fan. Big fan. I'm almost a connoisseur when it comes to zombie movies. Not as much as I am a connoisseur of lovable and deadly robots, but you get the point. Very well done. But what this guy just explained is just literally what they explain on the show. It's the exact. He's not bringing anything new to this. He's just reading the script of the show. They explain all of that to you in the show. So it's like anybody who's seen the show, part of me thinks a lot of, part of this is just a big native ad for the show.
Could be, yeah. And you get the chief medical correspondent, bring legitimacy. That's going to bring more eyeballs to the show, certainly.
Because it's almost theater,
Yeah,
it's
of course.
Theater of the national medical expert is coming on TV to explain why fungus could take over your brain. It's very good marketing for a show that deals with a big zombie pandemic like that. So first of all, that's hilarious that they're just like, yeah, I don't know. You don't need to explain it. Just read right off the script of the show.
The footage itself is disturbing. The tentacles wiggling around as it grows.
Have you not seen that before?
I remember seeing it, but it's just funny how it's CNN, they're broadcasting, and he's not talking like it's part of the plot. He's talking like this is real. It's based on this thing, and it's they're perpetuating the fear.
Yeah. Was there more to the clip, or was that?
There's more. Yeah, there's a lot more. Also, speaking of fungi, and the reason why we brought it up in the context of pharmakia is because of all the conversations about psilocybin, and the magic mushroom conversation with therapy.
I was going to get into that a little bit more, but maybe it's a nice preamble here for the rest of the clip. We've seen a huge explosion of popularity in psilocybin mushrooms, and popularity of mycology in general. I mean, Netflix is chock full of mushroom documentaries right now. Not just magic mushroom, but just like the magic of fungus kind of.
Right.
It's extraordinarily popular right now. On top of magic mushrooms being so popular because of therapeutic effects and things like that, Burning Man culture, spreading kind of like a fungus, taking over the brain of an ant, and then Burning Man people go out and spread that and become psychedelic shamans at the Davos World Economic Forum meeting, stuff like that. So putting this into all of that context will add some good layers for you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to the clip here because he does discuss this.
Turning into spores, and those spores are then jumping all over the forest and infecting more ants. That is sometimes what happens with what's called a parasitic relationship. The whole goal of that pathogen, the fungus in this case, is to propagate itself. And it's using the ant sort of as a vehicle to do so. That's how the show creators based this show. It does not happen in humans, thankfully, but that's where they got the idea. I will say it's interesting when you look at fungi specifically. If you look at something like psilocybin, that's not a pathogen in that it doesn't infect you, but it can induce mind-altering sort of behavior, and that's an example of what a pathogen could potentially do in the body.
I'm sorry for those of you just watching. They go to the 3-panel view at the end of Sanjay's little rant here, and the guy in the middle, when Sanjay's talking about how magic mushrooms can have mind-altering things, he goes, "Whoa, wow!" Like he's surprised, like he's never heard of magic mushrooms before. Just the response is hilarious. I'm sorry. Let me finish the clip.
Sort of behavior, and that's an example of what a pathogen could potentially do in the body.
Okay, that scared.
I mean, I love you, Sanjay, but that was gross.
The ant thing, man. I'm not going to sleep tonight because of that.
Yeah, they're not going to sleep. And then this clip here as to the actual threat of fungi.
I mean, beyond the sci-fi kind of perhaps exaggeration of this threat, mind control, etc. I mean, do fungi pose a different kind of threat to humans in general?
It's interesting because we talk a lot about viruses, certainly over the last few years. We talk a lot about bacterial infections. I think fungi don't get as much attention. Globally, this is a big issue, Jim. You have about 1.7 million people who are dying of fungal infections every year around the world. Typically impacts people who don't have access to antifungals, but also may have weakened immune systems. And as we're seeing with climate change, you are seeing funguses start to grow in areas that they did not grow before. You know, it's interesting, just a quick nugget, our body is at 98.6 degrees. Funguses can't live really well at that temperature, which is why humans aren't typically infected. But as the climate has warmed, the funguses are starting to adapt. And one of the concerns is they will start to adapt to the point where they can survive in a warmer climate, such as the human body.
So now the show is going to come true.
I was going to say, now another reason for me not to sleep tonight.
So there you go. Sanjay.
Yeah. This whole thing, that is literally just taken straight from the script of the show. That's the whole explanation about why the fungus, can take over people now is because of global warming, and they've gone. So you have Sanjay Gupta, who we know as a theater actor on behalf of the propagandistic, government control mechanism. Yeah. We know this, but other people for him to be a health expert.
Right.
And you have your quote unquote, health expert. You have an actor playing a health expert who is reading the script of a literal Hollywood TV show and presenting it as health information. Then there's a whole nother meta layer because they're also advertising the TV show. It's just the most bizarre layer upon layer upon layer of propaganda, advertisement, propaganda, corporate money in news media, propaganda, fake propaganda. It's just so bizarre, this whole report.
Some predictive programming, too, because he's talking about the show elements, but also he's presenting it as, climate change, this could happen if we don't take care of climate change, which always goes back to climate change. Absolutely. But literally, his whole thing is, because of climate change, the fungus can learn how to survive in hotter temperatures. Cue UC Riverside, UCR.edu. Thank you to Runk Smash who sent in the story. The headline here: fungi and bacteria are binging on burned soil.
Ooh.
Can microbes revive megafire dead zones? And it says here, UC Riverside researchers have identified tiny organisms that not only survive but thrive during the first year after a wildfire. The findings could help bring land back to life after fires that are increasing in both size and severity. And it goes through the whole process, the students who went out and tried to, the Molecular Ecology Journal published an article doing the tests after the fires. And it talks about how most things died, but some things lived. Quote, certain species increased in abundance. And in fact, there were really rapid changes in abundance over time in the burned soils, Glassman said. There were no changes at all in the unburned soils. It wasn't one type of bacteria or fungi that survived. Rather, it was a parade of microbes that took turns dominating the burned soil in the first post-fire year. Quote, there were interesting, distinct shifts in the microbes over time. As one species went down, another came up, Glassman said. So there's a sort of orchestra playing of one microbe taking over, and then when the conditions changed, another comes in and takes over, as sort of a slow takeover of all things. In the early days, they found microbes with high tolerance for fire and high heat. There you go. You have your high heat tolerant microbes. Later, fast-growing organisms with a lot of spores able to take advantage of space with little microbial competition seem to dominate. Toward the end of the year, organisms able to consume charcoal and other post-fire debris high in nitrogen tended to dominate. Then it gets into breaking down methane or methanotrophs. Quote, this exciting finding suggests post-fire microbes can eat methane to gain carbon and energy and can potentially help us reduce greenhouse gases. Julito Chavez said. So,
which creates this scene, right?
Yes.
Where we create climate change.
Yes.
It causes mushrooms to adapt to be able to infect humans, which is not fiction. I mean, he said right there, and we have another thing we'll show you in a second.
Yeah.
So the fungus infects humans, kills off the humans. The fungus eats the carbon, the gases, the greenhouse gases, to return Earth to its normal state.
Yes,
so
the
you
fungi
have
is the savior.
Exactly. You have a messianic fungus, a sort of naturalistic messiah being, being made out of fungus in general, but specifically some very interesting ones, which mirrors in a naturalistic and almost political sense. It mirrors what we have been hearing and reporting from places like Burning Man and Davos, where psilocybin mushrooms in particular are sort of put in a messianic position where they are here to return people to a healthy state, or they're here to raise the consciousness of the population in order. So we really, from start to finish, have fungus being positioned as like the savior of the world, savior of humanity, and in a lot of different ways, spiritually and physically.
Right. And the sort of the scientific, not validating, but making it legitimizing in the secular sense that we looked at last episode. But also, this goes back to the CIA connected John Allegro stuff, the Jesus mushroom, right? The whole Christian religion is based on mushroom trips and stuff like that. So there's that whole angle as well. It's very interesting.
Key.
Yeah.
Now, is there early Christianity was more of a psychedelic cult than
in the show? So you've watched the show, The Last of Us. Is there a sort of meta narrative about how the fungus is cleansing the earth or humans or anything like that, or is it just like a bad thing? That's because usually sometimes there's like a thing where they work in some weird ethics stuff where it's kind of like the bad guy gets a little cred,
So it's only 4 episodes in right now. The 4th just dropped, so there's still time. We haven't run into like a mushroom cult or anything like that is like worshiping the mushroom or think that is good, but it is seen as sort of a punishment for humans' bad behavior, for the way we are treating the world and stuff.
Look what you've become. This topic is reaching. It must be a memo that went out on all the mainstream outlets too, because Esquire.com has this article. We asked a mycologist about The Last of Us, and it got weird. Weird, Basil.
Yeah. And that's an interesting one because he does a better job of actually refuting some of the fiction.
He does.
Whereas
I think we
just says, no, the show is fiction. Ha ha ha, you silly news anchors. But also, it can totally happen, and it's happening now, and it's coming for us. Oh no.
Yeah.
To refer back to the CNN article, there's some interesting things in the article. They go through a bunch of different kinds of fungus, but there is this interesting section, who's at highest risk? Fisher said our bodies are generally pretty good at protecting against fungal infections, but chinks open up in our immune system. Whoa, racist.
Whoa, hey.
Can't say that.
Well, you can say that now.
Then we can have fatal consequences, he said. People who are most at risk of serious fungal infection are those with underlying conditions like HIV, cancer, or diabetes, and those with compromised immune systems because of their age, a disease, or the drugs they take. So compromised immune systems being an interesting theme we've seen post-pandemic.
Yes.
Others are vulnerable to more severe consequences of fungal infections because they don't have access to medicines that are commonly available in the West. For instance, cryptococcal meningitis, leading to, anyways, it gets into something else there.
This must be, it must be a talking point because that is brought up by the Esquire article.
Yeah. They say it in there too. Yeah. So this idea that we have an increase. In the CNN article as well, it says scientists are finding new fungi all the time. Oh, that's not what I wanted to read. Anyways, they mentioned that there's an increase in fungal infections. They are seeing a notable worldwide increase in fungal infections in recent years, as in since the pandemic. Fungal infections have increased quite a bit. Talking about people with compromised immune systems.
Yeah, listen to this. In the CNN article, one of the best defenses against fungal infections is to keep your immune system strong. Fisher advises parents to let children play outside a lot so they will get exposed to a good range of fungi to help develop a healthy immune system. Exactly. Oh, man, how things flip-flop, huh? Flip. Let me just real quick, the Esquire thing, the mycologist says here, there are a lot of people in the medical community that work on fungal pathogens that have been doing good work, but it's grossly underfunded compared to bacterial diseases or viruses. And then why is that? The interviewer asks, and the mycologist says, we're still in a COVID pandemic. We're more focused on viruses, but it turns out that the number of people that were impacted by COVID are more susceptible to fungal infections of the lung because they are now compromised by the virus, which sets them up for fungal infection. That's no different than what happened with HIV/AIDS in the 80s. You know, a lot of patients basically were ultimately taken out by fungal infections. Interviewer. Oh, really? This interviewer is not very good. Mycologist responds, yeah, they were saying, quote, well, why are these patients getting fungal infections? And it turns out it was because of a dampened immune response. They were on steroids, which allowed for a better, suitable environment for fungi to colonize. Almost like we're ready for the fungus among us. Because the people, our immune systems are so weak from COVID and obviously the vaccine too.
Vaccinations and immune-dependent, whatever it's called.
The earth is warming, so more warm fungi are growing, and there will be the last of us. So
sociologically, we have this setup where fungi in general are being sort of widely set up in the media as fungi can giveth and fungi can taketh away. Fungus, can give you, can heighten your consciousness, or it can turn you into a zombie. It can, you get both sides of it, sort of creating this almost godlike perception of fungus. And we've been seeing it with the psilocybin for quite some time. But this is the first time in a while that we've seen it so intensely communicated the other way around. And, with real world current event related reasons why there are actually more fungal infections going on now than ever regarding COVID, regarding immune systems. I mean, even the HIV connection is weird because of all the HIV connections we saw during the pandemic.
There was a part that I took out from the Sanjay Gupta interview that I should have kept in, but it just got long-winded, so I took it out. But basically, he says that, Americans are not used to hearing about the threat because, and he shows this number from 2018, there was about 4,500 deaths from fungal infections. In 2021, I think it was like up to 7,000. But it's almost like a setup. Like they're saying, it's only a few thousand deaths right now. But
just a little bit.
It's this clip can be shown later, in a few years and say, oh, look, it was only a few thousand, but now it's breached 100,000.
Honestly,
it's breaching a million,
I think we can see that.
I think we can see it coming.
What was the...
He said 1-something million worldwide, so there is a problem worldwide, and he says meningitis takes out about 500,000, so it takes out more than meningitis.
There was a recent disease or something where they went back and they did some after the fact data comparisons, and they actually saw that the disease had been slowly killing people. Oh, monkeypox. This is how monkeypox happened. Remember monkeypox? Man, monkeypox. With monkeypox, we've suddenly heard, monkeypox is a problem. It's spreading from here to there. And, it took a few months, but it then came out, hey, we've been watching monkeypox actually get worse and worse every year since like 2015. And there was a scientist who was like, trying to alert the world and nobody was listening to him, and et cetera, et cetera. Man, haven't heard anything about monkeypox recently, have we?
Yeah, it's been kind of quiet on the monkeypox
Well,
front.
I could see referring back to this time right now when, couple years down the line and we're all running away from mushroom zombies and stuff like that. We're all high on
Mushroom King,
running from mushroom zombies, and then there'll be the internet people going, we've been looking at this since 2023. Remember the Last of Us? It was predictive programming, blah, 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 blah. So just remember this one. Just remember this one for a couple years down the line.
Yep. All right.
All right. We're bumping up against your limit here.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a break?
Yes.
And do we just need to go out?
Yes.
Or do you want to finish with Antarctica?
Let's just try to fly through these.
Okay.
Here we go.
It's break time!
This is a break. Don't just consume the content, but become the content. Become the content.
Take a break.
All right, we're going to thank some producers who came in with their God-given talent. If you get value out of the show, provide value back by helping us build the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry News Talk. All we ask is that you make whatever piece of art about the show, and we're going to start it off with some audio production.
Audio production.
Got a couple pieces that came in. Arnie W, I believe Arnie W here, came in with New World Hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah.
And he's got the lyrics here, but we'll go ahead and play the track.
Thanks for the invite, but I'll be on my way. There's a narrow path where I plan to stay. I seek a kingdom to serve and not be served. Don't want your new world orders, no. I don't want your new world orders, no. I don't want your new world orders.
My gosh, this is bringing me back to my teenage years.
Awesome punk,
My
pop punk song here.
Vibes.
Arnie has to be the one that did Flippy Don't Take My Girl.
It sounds, yeah, very much
We might
so.
need to play Flippy Don't Take My Girl one of these days.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. Excellently done. New World Hors d'oeuvres is genius. You just gotta hand it to him. That is a genius hook for the song. Thank you very much, Arnie. We'll be playing the whole track at the end of the show for the Canary Crime mixtape.
Yep, thank you. We also got something from Marty B.
Right into Marty B jingle.
He had a note here. Bumper for Mail Train.
Mail train, mail train, mail train.
That is very good.
Very nice.
Well done, Marty. What is Mail Train? Is that for real mail? Snail mail?
And maybe. Did you call it? I think you might have called it Mail Train.
Did I call it the Mail Train?
Yeah, you might have mentioned it.
Right.
We'll see.
That's what it's called now.
Used to call it snail mail, but it's okay. Also, he said, would you play the demo version of Antarctica I did for Brian Day of Acrolith? Thanks. And we'll play a few seconds here. We'll play the whole song at the end.
Antarctica, were you ever real? Antarctica, what have you concealed?
Oh man, we're gonna have a theme song for the Antarctica segment.
Good.
Yeah, love it. We'll play the whole thing at the end for you guys, assuming we get out of here on time, which may be a problem. But thank you very much to Marty B. Appreciate your ongoing producership there. We got some art to do here.
One art, please.
And the one, actually, do we have two arts? No, I think we have one art from
just one.
Sir Dove.
One art piece from Dove.
He has a note. He says, "Peace for today's artwork. I made a flyer for the upcoming EU meetup. Just need Mr. Jack's info, and I'll add that to the bottom. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins."
Yes, you did. It's very good. Thank you very much, Sir Dove. Very well done. We've got sort of an image overlooking a beautiful German town. You've got EU meetup up there at the top, Canary Cry EU meetup Germany, with the sort of EU circle of stars in the top one.
They're all Baphomet shaped.
They're all
upside down stars.
The Baphomet stars. What's that little thing? Oh,
That's
we
a
got
smile.
a happy one kind of winking up there at the top. And we've got a googly-eyed canary on the left-hand side wearing some lederhosen, some traditional German garb, holding a skateboard that has the graphic of
Your metaverse
Basil,
encounter. Yeah.
Yes, the Basil Homer Simpson metaverse encounter is a great way to say it. And it's got the info on there, 18th of February at Skate Park Passau. And yes, as soon as we get a contact email from Mr. Jag there, we'll slap it on there, get it on the website. Thank you very much, Sir Dove.
Thank you, Sir Dove. It's already on the website, and I got a question about the email contact there that I will ask a little bit later. But for now, thank you very much. Sir Dove, we got a couple microfictions.
Microfiction.
Microfiction.
And this first one is, oops, hold on. No, give me the thing. It's from Wrong Smash. What? Oh, here it is.
The runner takes the cylinder from the lady and slinks through the city unnoticed. Coming to an abandoned office building on the border of the 15-minute hive, he takes the stairs to the basement and enters to find a brave psychonaut and the chaplain.
It's all coming together. The psychonauts and the chaplain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rung Smash.
Thank you, Rung Smash. And we also have one more from Stefan S.
Coach Schwab's pep talk.
We are for the people. We will bring good to the people. Will they always appreciate it? Of course not. They don't know what's good for them. Does a child appreciate the pair of socks for a Christmas present? No.
I think you should be Klaus for Halloween.
It hurts. It hurts my voice. Yeah, I don't know how he does it so often. Thank you very much, Stefan S.
Thank you, Stefan
And
S.
all of the wonderful, talented artists who make this show possible. If you're a creative person out there, create something for the show. Doesn't matter what you do, whether it's music or writing or visual art, whatever. Fushigi juggling. Still waiting for that. Send it in. You can go to canarycry.art. Canarycry.art. You'll find a form there, fill it out, send in your art. We'd love to put it on the show. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much.
Yep. Let's quickly do this Antarctica story and then get out of here.
Okay.
So a new discovery in
Antarctica.
Penguins. You want to see penguins? I want to see penguins.
I am a penguin.
The kids want to see penguins? MSN.com.
Yeah, kids love penguins.
Yep. MSN.com mirroring LA family travel. Disney on Ice. How we explored Antarctica with Adventures by Disney.
Disney's getting in on the game.
Yeah. I'll read a little bit of this. And for those who have been tracking with the Antarctica stories, just an interesting contrast with what we've been reporting on recently. Antarctica may not be the first destinations parents think of when planning a family vacation, but you might want to move Antarctica up your list because in 2021, Adventures by Disney added expeditions cruising to its portfolio of family-focused and kid-friendly guided vacations.
Yeah.
Kid-friendly family vacations.
Of course.
To Antarctica.
It's not that we don't have a current international investigation about multiple U.S. citizen deaths in Antarctica from,
rogue waves,
international agencies.
Yeah.
We've got news about, sexual abuse at the scientific centers. We've got all sorts of nasty stuff. We might as well get the kids down there.
Yeah. Parents may be surprised to learn high adventure destinations can also be kid friendly. I did not know that. I am surprised, actually.
High adventure.
High adventure
is a funny way of putting it.
A large part of Disney's history is connecting people to nature, said Hunter Robertson. Not a real name. Adventures by Disney Senior Marketing and Sales Strategy Manager. Quote, like Walt's original nature films and Walt Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park, Adventures by Disney Expedition Cruises builds on that history by taking families to see amazing natural places and wildlife and connecting them to what they see through storytelling. we're a storytelling company at heart, Hunter explained, and it goes on and on. You know what I think this is? This could be a setup for future films or stories or projects. You know, you have one of these kids that they choose a child or family or something, and they have to go through some kind of adventure or hardship. Then it becomes mythologized, and now you have sort of your child hero that survived some rogue wave or something, whatever they're setting up this family to go through.
You know, it's interesting. Disney has always sort of toyed with the idea of Antarctica as a setting. You know, they've had Happy Feet. They've had Frozen is kind of a mythologized version of Antarctica type of thing. You know, it's been one of those mythological projects for them for some time now. And it is interesting to have. We've been documenting Antarctica, the tourist campaign, the marketing campaign for Antarctica for quite some time, but Disney getting in on it changes it up a little bit, because Antarctica has been luxury. You know, you go there, you live in a luxury bubble thing. It's an experience nobody else can have. It's always quite expensive, and then you know, and then there's the adventure side of it, which is it's really dangerous here. Nobody gets to go here. It's very cold. It could kill you in a second. And now we have Disney being like, yeah, bring your kids on down.
It's very reflective of the criticism that Disney has, which is sort of like this luring in children and exposing them to
the reframing of perhaps things that are not appropriate for children, reframing them as something that is right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the cruise, I think it's funny. We literally just got done reporting on like 6 U.S. citizens in 4 different incidences, all dying on cruises to Antarctica.
And they're like,
and
kids,
Disney's like,
come on
give
down.
us a piece of that. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know. It just the timing of the story coming out, and it was published. When was it published? Doesn't say, but I think it was today or yesterday. Yeah, obviously it's an advertisement for the Disney Adventures by Disney Antarctica trip or whatever. But in the context of everything, not surprised at all.
Yeah, maybe it's a way. I don't know. Maybe they need some younger test subjects to send through the shimmer.
I think they need, again, I think they're going to create a story out of somebody who goes through a tragedy or some hardship, and they can have sort of a hero that they can, a family or a young child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the story's built in, you got all the people there to write the story.
Well, it's interesting because up until now, it's pretty much everybody that we read about in Antarctica is a hero.
Right.
It's you've got Polar Preet, you've got the trans mountain climber, you've got the team of all women who are doing science and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Scientists in general, the heroes of our day.
Yeah.
But yeah, kid-friendly Antarctica trips. Let's go, people. Let's. I don't know. It's starting to seem less and less cool.
This will be the infiltration point. I will put you in a warm swath and put you in a stroller and go to the gate there and say, "What is this googly-eyed thing? It's my child. It's my baby. Okay, are you judging me?
I identify as a toddler. Let me in. I want to see.
Look at his googly eyes.
Elsa.
Look at the wonder in his eyes. You're going to steal his joy by preventing me from taking him to the wonders of the White Desert.
I have a fungal infection. This is my last wish.
All right. Well, there you go.
All right. Okay, let's get you out of here.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to the show. We'll be back on Friday. We're going to have a lot of fun. You love it. And thanks to all the producers. It really means the world to us. And we hope that you're still getting value out of the show. If you're getting any value out of what we do here, consider producing the show. Not only because, we're comfortable talking about this. So many shows are. I was just seeing some tweets today by some fellow colleagues of ours, and they were discouraging the idea that people who make media should get paid for it at all. And, that's okay. That's okay. But here's the thing. The fact of the matter is we would not be able to do this show in the frequency and the quality that we do if it were not for the producers. That's what makes it absolutely possible. And not every single listener has to produce every single episode. But, we have faith that the value that we bring to people's lives is enough to inspire, not just to support the show, but really live out the radical act of saying no to corporate money in media. That's at its core what it's about. And we're very happy to be playing a part in that. And so get involved with your time, your talent, or your treasure. Head on over to canarycryradio.com/support to check it out. Thank you to our executive producer, the Underwoods. And thank you to some other producers who come in with their time.
Sorry. That came in hot, huh?
No, you're good. Go.
Flippy on those videos. Thanks.
That's right. The Clippies, they clip the show out. They're making social media clips for us now. We get the segments clipped out. They're clipping all over the place, folks. They're excellent, and we love them. And go to the Canary Cry Clips channel. I just got the update. The Clips channel will be off banning on the 16th of February, so we still got some time. But check out our social media. We've been having more clips going up there, and give them a share, give them a like, that sort of thing. There is a call out right now for more Clippies. We need some assistance in the Clippy realm. So if you are interested in becoming a part of the team, helping out the show, putting value back in, maybe learning some skills, honing some skills, I will say this. We just had another producer use their work for the show on a resume to get another job.
That's right.
This happens pretty regularly now.
Did they get the job? Do you know if they got the job?
I don't know yet. Okay. I don't know yet. But that's kind of the thing, people, whether they're in between jobs or they just kind of help us out on the side. This is, they can legitimately put their work for us on a resume. And we've had multiple producers specifically, have put the work they do for us on their resume and then transfer that into a job that they love and enjoy. And we consider that another form of value. So we're stoked on that. But yes, Clippies, if anybody has experience kind of doing some very simple video editing, just clipping things out, that's helpful, but it's not required. We can figure out ways to teach you. That's the other thing. We want to help people gain skills and refine skills and stuff. But send an email to canarycryradio@gmail.com. We could really use a little bit of help in this area. So thank you very much. Plus, we'll thank you. Like we thank Emsworth and Faye Liverin for being Clippies on the show.
Yep, thank you very much.
Same with the Timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
We need an update on the Timestampers. I'm not sure if those timestamp volunteers ever got going. I think some of them may have dipped. So another call out if anybody wants to help with timestamps. This is a very simple one. However, it is very important. So if you're one of the people who watches the show live, helping us out with timestamps would be wonderful. But I do want to thank our timestampers. The timestamps go into so much of our back end. It's extremely important. And I believe episode 587 was timestamped by Jade Bouncerson.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Jade.
Yay. Thank you very much, Jade.
Appreciate it.
And of course, thank you to our social media gal.
The social media consultant.
Thanks so much. Social media, follow us.
Dame Miss G, the OV in the deep rivers, making sure the art gets up on the social media. Thank you very much, Dame Miss G. Go to canarycrymeetups.com.
Canary Cry Meetups.
Canary Cry Meetups.
Yep, that's right. canarycrymeetups.com. There's meetups going on right now. The EU meetup coming up the 18th of February. If you're in the EU, try to get over to Germany. We'll have all the information up at canarycrymeetups.com. And if there's not one near you, put one on yourself, folks. Just send us an email with a time and a date and a place, and we will tell the world. It's a wonderful way to connect with real human beings.
Yep. Mr. Jag that EU meetup being moved to the 18th of this month, he did have a contact email in his first email, but then the second one said no contact yet. So I don't know. I put that Citro
I think
mail.
that's pretty clear, Gons. I think it's pretty clear that he's going to give us an updated contact email.
Okay, great. And then also, I did include the Central Florida meetup, maybe sometime in March. With Rochelle Schmutz at gmail.com. I believe I spelled that right.
Yes.
So I put that in there. Just put in a picture of Florida there.
That's great.
Visual.
Yeah,
but
Central
it's
Florida
both there.
meetup.
So there you go,
Okay.
Rochelle, and also Mr. Jag holding meetups. So go there, meet them.
Go or put one on yourself. Reviews, ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts, extremely important to us, and we would absolutely love it if you go leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We're shooting for 5 this week. We're shooting for 5. We're not even near that. So if you could go leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, that would just make us feel so dandy and help us out. We need, it's really important for us to kind of keep the momentum on that sort of thing. So if you have not done it, which is 99% of you, please go leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. And other than that, thanks to Jam for the links. Thank you to Clank for the assistance, reminding me to let the world know that the YouTube is banned right now. And other than that, share the show, folks. Share it with your friends and your family and your dogs and your penguins dogs and your dogs penguins. Make sure that they know that Canary Cry News Talk is the place to be. And here's the thing. There's fungus among us. It's everywhere. It's in the ground. It's in our food. It's in our brains, apparently, or it will be.
Will be, yeah.
And what we really need to do, you know those experiments where they played music to plants and it made the plants grow? We need some real scientists here, some real Canary Cry scientists. Get yourself some fungus, put some headphones on the fungus, play some Canary Cry News Talk, because then the fungus will absorb the idea that Canary Cry News Talk is here for the betterment of society, and that it's to let everybody know that the mainstream corporate news media is for profit and not for the betterment of anybody or even in the service of truth. And if you get that idea into the mycelial network, the mushrooms will start communicating mushroom to mushroom, mushroom to ant, ant to more mushrooms, and then mushrooms to hippies who are eating them in Golden Gate Park. And then suddenly, while they're watching colors streak across the sky and their hands turn into hot dog fingers, they will also receive another message from the fungus, and that is that Canary Cry News Talk is the podcast for them. We're just trying to help out the hippies, folks. You know how it is. But if you need any more instructions, we call it rattling cages, and all you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! Don't ever silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Gons, got any last words?
I don't think so. We'll see you on Friday. The Feast of St. Paul's Shipwreck.
Ooh.
In Malta.
Sounds exciting.
Which is thought to have been around the date 60 AD. So, yeah. Oh, there you go.
Love it.
Celebrate
all right.
Paul's Shipwreck on Friday.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode. Thank you for considering becoming a producer. It's the only way we can continue. And, make sure, thanks for listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage, you know.
Yeah.
Armageddon's on the way.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
We're all gonna die.
120 days, we will hunt you down and make you pay. Keep yapping, man. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world. They all want to share their data. Get vaccinated.
Michael. Bye! Thanks for the invite, but I'll be on my way. There's a narrow path where I plan to stay. I seek a kingdom to serve and not be served. Don't want your new world orders, no. I don't want your new world orders, no. I don't want your new world orders. Change your memory. Took away your past, your history. Now you struggle with reality. Welling up from inside, resurfacing. Antarctica, 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 were you ever real? Antarctica, 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 what have you concealed? What you heard, you can't repeat. And what you saw, they must delete. Struggle with their lies and deceit, spreading across the land like a disease.
Goodbye, everybody. And that's the end. And everyone says, oh, that was fun.
Bye, 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 bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support